Welcome to Redesigning Storycrafter. I'm DMA, and I'm talking about redesigning Storycrafter from the ground up. You can visit the normal Storycrafter at storycrafter.com. To visit the new version of Storycrafter, what I'm calling Storycrafter 2.beta, you can go to beta.storycrafter.com. You're not going to see anything there right now. I've just changed the template a little bit, but otherwise there's no content there whatsoever. And you'll see that there really isn't a whole lot going on yet because I haven't really developed any of the databases or anything. So what's fun I'll just talk about today. Talk about the data model, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time going over each of these tables, but I will just say this is MySql Workbench. Lets you model the relationships between your data, and then from there you can engineer forward this into SQL statements and create your databases from that. So I'm not going to talk about any of the things that are the same, because a lot of these things are the same, like admins and band and stuff like that. User meta is a little different. You're going to be able to have a writer page where people will be able to click on your writer name and see what you're reading, writing, a little bio, maybe a character portrait if you want to upload something, and links to wherever they can contact you. Also, read more about you on the web, and so you can kind of interact with people who are fans of your writing, and they can get to know you a little bit better as an individual. Messages are going to be very similar. Difference is that you'll be able to send a message to more than one recipient. So if you're a story owner, you'll be able to send one message out to all of your writers, and so that'll be different. But the biggest and of course probably the most dramatic change to Storycrafter is from the original version, which is, let me just take a look at it and show you what we have in the original version. Is we have this is probably relatively new site. So we have cast, which is characters, and you send your character on auditions, and they have images and options and publishing, and got a character watch list, and so forth and so on. And so I would say the biggest difference between the typical Storycrafter as it exists now and how people use the site and the new site design is that we're just doing away with the concept of characters. And instead we're focusing on what is important about stories, and that is the story themselves and the writers. So when you drop, if you're writing as a character and you write a line into a story segment or scene, it will not be marked as your character. It will be marked as coming from you, the writer. So if I'm joining a story, it'll say written by DMA, and it won't say Charles Barkley or whatever. It'll just be saying DMA, written by DMA. And it'll be up to me to describe in character, in my writing, what my character is like, what he looks like. That's right, we're doing away with the character gallery, doing away with the character portraits, no character portraits or no character gallery. So just having a story, just having writers, and then breaking down the story into story segments, which currently we're broken down into acts, but we're going to break them down into story segments, which is just a generic way of saying however you want to break your story down, you can break it down. You want to break it down into chapters, you want to break it down into acts, whatever, it doesn't matter. Each segment can have one to many scenes. A scene can have writers defined or undefined. It can have readers defined or undefined. If you don't want to define who can read and write in your scene, everybody can do it. And that means if you have a membership account with Storycrafter and the scene is open to you, you'll be able to go into a story without having to join a story or be invited to join a story and write into a scene. This is actually going to be how we're going to be doing auditions for stories. Instead of joining a cast, going on an audition with a character, now you'll see a story that's tagged as being looking for writers. You go into the story, there will be probably a story segment called auditions or looking for writers, or about the story. You click on it, it'll ask you to give some information about yourself or write a little sample. The scene will be open to you, so you'll be able to just write right into the scene. If the writer, editor, or owner of that story segment likes what they read, they will send you an invitation. You'll get it as a message. Click on the link, and you'll become a story user, which is either a writer, an editor, or an owner. And that's how we're going to be doing auditions. It'll be basically from you as the writer, and people will be able to see and interact with you in that way. Let's see what else. Okay, so scenes we broken into lines. Lines are going to be kind of broken into pages, and then pages will have notes. And so this is a big difference because currently right now when you create a post for a Storycrafter story, what you would typically do is you would put in the content that's in character content, and then at the bottom you might put in some out of character content as a note that this is kind of explaining something that's going on in my character content. Well, because you don't have character content necessarily, you don't have to have character content, it's just writing. There's no real easy way to put in writing notes. So instead of including any kind of out of character or non-story related content inside of your lines that you'll drop into the scene, we have a totally separate thing called notes now. And what you can do is, instead of putting comments into your lines, you drop a note on a page, and a note on the page will go into the margin, and you can put it next to the line that you've written, and you can kind of explain this or explain that, and it's totally separate from your line. So when you go to when people go to read your scene, they don't have to parse through your out of character comments. They can essentially just look at what you wrote, and they might even look at the scene in a published mode, in which case they won't see who wrote what. It'll just be one publication, and it won't contain notes. Or they might look at it in editor mode, in which case they'll see each of the lines that were added by different authors broken up by author. It'll show all the notes. They'll be able to open up the notes and see what people wrote about this and that. This will let people actually even, so you can kind of have your scene going on in the main page, and then in the margins you can just have like a little conversation with notes with people about what's going on here and that, and so this probably won't take the place of like the typical OOC kind of message board style stuff, but you can probably kind of go back and forth a few times using these notes. And so that's the difference. So those are the changes that we're going to be implementing. No characters, no character portraits, and some different information. Everybody's basically going to be their writer. Everyone will know them as the writer, and whatever you come up with is your writer name. You can use a pseudonym or a pen name, or you can use your initials or your real name. People will know you as your writer name, and you'll have a page, and people will be able to see what stories you're reading. That's right, we're going to have a reading list, so you can actually go to a story and say, put this on my reading list, and will update you when the story has new content, or if you're a story user or writer, then you'll have a writing list, and people can see what you're reading and write, follow along with you, and see what you're up to. So that's kind of the changes we're making, and I hope some of that sounds interesting to you. And if there's any questions you have about that, just email me or PM me, and I'll see if I can't answer them. Thanks.